Of course, you know me, always want to get in on the action. So the 44 car is mine for the weekend.
Told you, just like a kid with a new toy. Paul Massell, presenter turned driver, off to mix it with some of the top legend drivers. The series represents an opportunity for new talent to gauge how they might shape up in the next year's championship. And the standard is high, including current champion Rob Fountain.
I don't think it's so much the competition, it's like probably get out of the way of some of the novice drivers, you know. We all have to start there, you just really got to give each other respect out there, or there'll be a lot of crashing really.
Ian, are you here to win the Winter Series or are you here to have some fun?
Really, obviously we go out to win every time you go out, but yeah, mainly to have some fun, yeah.
And what's it going to take to sort this series? You've got the Fountain twins are out, they're going to be a formidable pairing, I would think.
Yeah, obviously the battle will continue with Rob and Chris, obviously, because Chris is going really good at the moment, so yeah, hopefully we'll beat Rob this time.
Lawrence Davey is one of the new batch. What was his thinking behind the decision to get all signed up?
Just want to try something different and it looks exciting, so we thought we'd come over and have a go.
What have you been doing before coming into the Legends Winter Series?
I've done 4 years of karting and I've done 3 years of mini stocks on the short circuit ovals. This year we finished second in the championship in the mini stocks, so I've been doing quite well. And we finished 14th, was the highest in the British Championship in the karting.
Mark Traherne moves from the pit lane to the driving seat, replacing his brother Stephen, who was Rookie of the Year in the current season. Others venturing out for the winter competition include Ken Finneran in car 22. And Nigel Kelsey will be pleased to be back at his local track, scene of one of his first race wins in the 1999 Winter Series. Scott Booth moves to a new team and a new number, 24. One of the competitors who has travelled the furthest is Gerald McCosh, a regular in the Scottish Series based at Knockhill. Meanwhile, Paul is still trying to squeeze a quart into a pint pot. They've even taken off the steering wheel to help him get in. The 5/8 scale 1937 Ford sedan eventually fits him like a glove.
Not very often I belt up, eh?
True, but then we wouldn't have him any other way, would we? Would we? We pick up the action at the start of the third race of the 5-race series. Ian Sturt and Rob Fountain have claimed a race each, and they start at the front end. Sturt, number 54, on pole, alongside number 15, Gary Thomas. Rob and Chris Fountain, 1 and 52, make up the second row. Nigel Kelsey, 94, and Pete Smith, 12th, are on the third row, with Paul Massell, 44, and Chris Cook, number 3, on the fifth row. It's a rolling start, 8 laps of the 1.22-mile circuit to negotiate. And in case you're wondering, all rookies start from the back for safety reasons. And there they go. Up the hill, and that's a cracking start by Rob Fountain. Down the inside of Ian Sturt, finding the little bit of extra grip that makes the difference. Not quite so easy there in the following pack, blinded by the spray. Up the hill to Druids. Paul Massell there, number 44, our kid on the grid, on board with him. Almost lost in the mist. Down the hill again. Oh, and Rob Fountain in a touch of understeer at Graham Hill Bend, but survives on board with Paul Massell, who loses a place to number 10, Robin Drysdale. Ian Sturt finds the front again. Gary Thomas grabs second. Rob Fountain drops to third. Chris Fountain, his brother, is fourth, and Pete Smith is fifth. Oh, and there is Drysdale hanging it all out on the wet line. 94 is Nigel Kelsey, riding again with Paul Massell. He's marooned in 7th. Back to paddock, it's the end of lap 1, and it's Gary Thomas with the challenge this time. Number 15 on the door handles of both Fountain and Sturt. But that's a magnificent corner at paddock for Fountain. Half a gap was plenty, and Thomas is returned to third place. The heat from Fountain is turned up. He's found another great position there into the right-hander. Sturt shimmies out of the exit. The next bend will favour him. And Fountain concedes, but it won't be long. The right-hander again, and surely this time he'll make it stick. On board with Paul, on the move. challenging Chris Fountain for 5th. Back with the leaders though, and still no joy for Chris's twin brother Rob. Ian Sturt, 54, looking vulnerable on almost every corner, but somehow masters the defence and holds on. This time though, it might be different. 2 laps gone, and Rob Fountain finally produces the spurt to take him clear. Thomas is tearing around the outside, but the experience of being number 1 has already paid the dividend. Fastest lap so far, incidentally, 56.78 seconds by Chris Fountain, who is still being hassled by Paul Marcel. Down the hill they go again. And Thomas, number 15, with his own little race moment there to remember. On another day, that might have been costly. Number 66 is Gerald McCosh from Biggar. And number 22, returning from an excursion, was Ken Finneran from Thurlow. But they still all chase. Number 1, Rob Fountain from Boston, beginning now to make himself a little space. Ian Sturt making sure it still remains a chase to the checkered flag. Around the corner, across the start-finish line, up the inviting slope that leads to paddock, and Thomas has lost a place, 4th now behind number 10, Robin Drysdale. Then it's Chris Fountain, Paul Marcel and Chris Cook in that order at the halfway point of the race. The track still very wet, and although the sun has made a rare appearance, there's very little sign of a dry line. The battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Down the hill, we're riding with Paul Marcel. Chris Fountain there is the target, but that's Chris Cook in through the back door. Marcel loses a place, and number 19 you saw there, Lawrence Davey, but we go back with the lead. Ian Sturt rubbing door handles with Fountain, very nearly pokes his nose in front again. Fountain quietly shuts the door on the next right-hander, and normal service is resumed. Back on board with Paul Marcel, dropping back already on Chris Cook, who is now fancying his chances on Chris Fountain. Sturt still won't leave the other Fountain alone. That's the end of lap again, and Chris Cook in great shape here to sneak into 4th place. But that's a great exit by Fountain. He survives. Back on board. Visibility almost nil. Marcel right up. Oh, Thomas. Oh, takes the nudge. And now he's in a spin, off the beaten track and facing the wrong way. It says so much about the boy. They're streaming past him. He has to wait for the gap. On his way again, but that was costly. Leaders, and Sturt finds a way past Fountain. So evenly matched. Best laps, Sturt 57.049 seconds. Fountain 57.063 seconds. That's 14 thousandths of a second between them. It's about a cigarette paper. Taking another look at Paul Marcel's nudge on Thomas, for which he paid the full price. 2 laps to go. Sturt drifting to the centre of the track, knows that Fountain's preference is fast and wide into paddock with a sharp exit. But there's nowhere there for the number 1. He stays in 2nd place. And in the background you saw there a little tete-a-tete between Chris Cook, number 3, and Chris Fountain, number 52. Close to there at the front with a lap and a half to go. Moving back, number 24 is Scott Booth ahead of Paul Marcel. The position is 12th, so that was indeed an expensive spin for 44. And no time to put it right. Just over a lap left. Sturt opens up a 10-metre gap. Has he now finally got the measure, or will Fountain hatch up a crafty last-ditch surprise? Well, he wouldn't bet on either. Still very, very close. Ken Finneran and Gary Cope continue at the back to debate who will do the honours there. Finneran, a little ambitious with his attempt to close the door that was already shut. Lawrence Davey now, number 19, running wide, just manages to stay ahead of McCosh. Leader Sturt into his last lap, less than a minute to withstand anything Fountain has to offer. Coke and Finneran are still constructing their obstacle course. Both the leaders make it safely through, as do the rest. 24 there, Scott Booth still nibbling away at Thomas. On board with Paul Marcel, still struggling, now in 14th place. Well, he will know he threw it all away 4 laps ago. Less than half a lap to go for Rob Fountain to conjure up that little bit of magic that might get him in front of Ian Sturt. Time is running short. 31, Ken Murphy, and 34, Bill Thomas. Battles everywhere around the track, but it's Ian Sturt who crosses the line just ahead of Rob Fountain to win the 3rd round of this 5-round series. The gestures say it all. That was a tough one. 18 seconds behind, Paul Marcel makes his way to the line. Knows he could have done better, but will live to fight another day. And the sun out in appreciation, perhaps, of another day of sparkling legend racing. And that's how they finished up. Ian Sturt ahead of Rob Fountain just. Robin Drysdale holding on to that 3rd position. Chris Fountain, Chris Cook, Pete Smith, Nigel Kelsey, Gary Thomas, Scott Booth and Mark Traherne making up the top 10.
Yeah, I've battled with Rob all year, and we're still battling now, and we'll be battling again next year, hopefully. He's a fantastic driver to get, race against. He's never going to drive you off the circuit, and this time we beat him.
Macau was good for the first 3 laps, and then it just went off to a bit of a push, resulting in he got by me fair and square, and he beat me. But there's 2 more races to go. We'll give him another run for his money, so we'll book there in the next 2.
Yeah, in the early stages I had Chris Cook was right on my bumper, and Chris Fountain, he was pushing all the way, trying to come up the inside. We managed to hold him back, and at I think about the 2nd last lap, we went right off across the grass, and here's Gary Thomas coming in behind me, but we managed to hold him off to the end, but most of the race we're kind of out on a limb and on my own.
And we'll be back with the Winter Legends in a couple of